Venu sir, we can get started.
Sure, Vatsa. Yeah. Vatsa, my voice is audible, right?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
All right, let me just share my screen. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session on GSTR-9 and 9C reconciliation using GSTZen. With me, I have our colleagues Bharti, Manisha, and Vatsa, who will be assisting in various aspects. And let me just begin by introducing myself and the GSTZen. I'm a chartered accountant in practice. I've been in practice in last 2 decades, and I specialize in the area of indirect taxes. Especially, I take care of GST integration and implementation. This is what I do. And to introduce about GSTZen, GSTZen is a GSP, is an ASP and GSP. It's a written filing software, assist people in filing GSTR-1, 3B, GSTR-9 and 9C. What is most important about GSTZen is the reconciliation tools that the GSTZen has, which people use it for especially to reconcile with the books of accounts and making sure that the reconciliations are intact. Today, we know that most of us will struggle or fail in during the audits is not showing some credit notes, or input tax credit which has been taken not showing timely when it has been taken workings, and lose out on some reverse charge liability. So the tools that are available in GSTZen helps in reconciling the data which is already filed. It also helps in reconciliation of the data which were available on the portal and I have not taken credit. The beauty of it, all these reports are available in Excel, and as we finance professionals, we love to see the data in Excel. It's easy for us to do pivots and everything. Not just that, there are other good features like autopilot. If you are a CFO handling 4-5 companies in one go, you will be knowing the compliances, whether they have filed the returns on time or intercompany balance reconciliation, etc. There are various autopilot tools that are available. That's a little brief about GSTZen. All right. So in today's session, what I'm going to address, my portion of the discussion is I'm going to talk about the subject, since I'm the subject matter expert. So I'll only be talking about what are the legal provisions and how do I report my outward supplies, input supplies, RCM, and any adjustments that we need to do is what I would be handling. And my colleague Bharti would be handling on how to do the working, filing, and preparation through GSTZen. That would be handled by Bharti. If you have any questions, feel free to put your questions yourself. Now, in the interest of everyone, we have muted everyone, but you can put your question in the chat. And just in case if you have logged out and you're unable to join in, this is also streamed live. You can always log into live streaming. Yeah. So the link for the live streaming is also here in the chat. Maybe you can use this for streaming, watching the session live. Someone was messaging me that the voice is not audible. Just can you reconfirm my voice is clear?
Yes, sir, I can hear you clearly, sir.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Yeah. Please hold your questions as and when that respective topic is done. I'll keep answering all the questions as and when, but request everyone to keep your questions once when I complete one module. Yeah. So I would be taking theory part, and our colleague Bharti would be taking the practical part of how to file through Zen. Just to begin with the legal provision, I'm sure everyone understands by now 4 years you have already filed the GST annual returns. So section 44 of the Act read with rule 80 says every person other than ISD, TDS, TCS, CTP and RTP should file the annual return. The TDS, so the TCS e-commerce operator 8B and composition taxpayers 9A form is there, but currently those forms are not available for filing. You only need to file GSTR-9. And it is a self-certified reconciliation statement. Earlier, there is an audit form. So now, along with the GSTR-9, you have to file a self-certified statement. So just to simplify, what we are going to see in today's discussion is GSTR-9 is what we are going to see. These two are currently not applicable or not available on the portal. And these taxpayers do not need to file any returns, annual returns. It's only a regular dealers who would be filing the annual returns. All right. So when we say annual returns, it is GSTR-9. If your turnover is 2 crores and above, then the 9C if your turnover is up 5 crores and above. Does it mean that you should only file if you cross the turnover? Answer is no. Even if your turnover is up to these limits, 0 to 2 crores, 0 to 5 crores, you can still file 9 and 9C. What happens if you don't file? The portal has some data which is auto-filled. Those numbers will be deemed as the final numbers. What is the due date of filing my returns for the financial year 21-22? The due date as of now is 31st December. Questions that also people ask, will it get extended? Unlikely, most unlikely the returns get extended. What happens if I don't file on time? So there is a late fee. Late fee of 0.25% CGST and 0.25% SGST of your turnover in the state. Whatever is the turnover in the state, you will end up paying so much as the late fee. So better be careful, and it is every day subject to the maximum of 0.25%. Let's first understand the context between GSTR-9 and 9C. There are two forms. Why do we have these two forms? And what should I fill in these two forms? Friends, please note the context of GSTR-9 and 9C is very important. Now, GSTR-9 is a statement of fact. If I have to say what is GSTR-9, it's facts. Okay, it is facts. What is done, right? What is done is GSTR-9. What about 9C? 9C is what should be done. What should have been, right? What should have been is 9C. So between 9 and 9C, understand the contextual difference. 9 talks about what you have done. 9C talks about what you should be doing. So 9 is statement of fact. Like when you have to report turnover in the 9, the turnover on which the taxes you have paid will report. What you will report in 9C, the turnover on which the tax is payable. In 9, whatever is the exemptions declared, but in 9C, what is exemptions as per law. In 9, you will see tax paid. Paid could be through GSTR-3B or could be DRC-03. But what you will be reporting is the taxes that have been paid through 3B or DRC-03. So 9 is all about the taxes that have been paid. So in 9C, whether or not you have paid, you will be reporting the tax payable. 9, you will be reporting the rate of tax, whatever you have entered, but 9C, you will be doing rate of tax as per law. 9, you will say how much ITC you have availed. 9C, you will say ITC that is available. After the reversal, the net ITC availed is spoken in GSTR-9, but eligible ITC is spoken in 9C. So the context between 9 and 9C is 9 what you have done, 9C what you should be doing. That is the data that has to be entered in both. This is what you have to enter. Now let's see. Okay, just for a moment. Vatsa, if there are people in waiting room, can you manage? Yeah.
Sorry, sir.
I think there are people in waiting room, just manage the thing.
Yes, sir, we are taking care of that.
Sure. Okay, great. Okay, so now if we have to look at the way the form is designed, the way the form is designed, very beautifully drafted form. GSTR-9 has 6 parts. The part 1 is basic information. Part 2 talks about liability, table 4 and table 5. Part 3 is input tax credit, table 6, 7, 8. After liability and ITC, obviously part 4, it is tax payable and the taxes paid. So that's what you're going to address. And ideally, the GSTR-9 should have completed at this point. But we know once a return is filed, you cannot edit it. So the amendments are carried. How are the amendments carried? You are going to file the return, assuming, say, you have not reported a GSTR-1, you will report it in the next month. Once you file, you cannot edit it. Likewise, if you have not paid any taxes, you will pay it in the next month. So this next month, if there is a spillover that happens, the spillover data is presented in part 5 so that you can match with what happened. And if you have to pay 100 rupees, how much you have paid in last year, how much you have paid in current year, right? So government also wants additional information. The additional information is captured in part 6. We will see in detail how it needs to be done. And don't worry, this recording would be available. This presentation material would also be shared, but feel free to ask your questions. Make note of the points which I'm saying in a notebook, or have a copy of the blank form, because I'm now getting into little detail, which I'll be talking about the tables. When it comes to 9C, 9C is divided into 5 parts. The part 1 is always the basic information. The part 2, which talks about the turnover details. So if the turnover is matching with whatever you have reported in 9, both gross turnover and taxable turnover, well and good. Otherwise, you will give explanation to each of the table. In the part 3 is the tax liability, and how it has been paid is what you will be reporting in part 3. Part 4 is how much is ITC available, like a bank reconciliation, how much is there in the books, how much you have availed in the current year, how much you have availed in the next year, you will be reporting that. And you will also segregate that ITC that you availed between expenditure wise and how much is eligible, how much is total. So that way you are going to give a multifold reconciliation of ITC. So in 9C, you are saying what is your liability, what is your ITC eligibility. In 9, you are saying that how much I have paid, how much of ITC I have availed. So what is the information that you require for filing the GST returns? You need the basic information. The primary set of information is what is there in the portal, which is GSTR-3B, GSTR-1. What is there in my audited books of accounts and the 2B. This is needed. Apart from that, you also need an information of how much the taxes that have been paid in the next year adjusted. The previous year GSTR-9, if I have reported something that I have adjusted, used something, all those is required. On top of it, if you want to do a good job, you definitely need to have a good filing software like GSTZen, which will also help you to reconcile what you have filed, whether there are any errors in the data that you have filed. That is what it is going to address. At this point, let me see. Yes, Janaki, the presentation material you will be getting it. Okay, I think we have addressed the questions. Let's get into the details of the tables.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. There are a couple of questions from YouTube.
Yeah, you can share the questions here. I'll take it up.
Okay, sir. I am just adding it to the chat.
Yeah. Again, viewers who are there on the YouTube, you feel free to ask your questions. We'll take it. Okay, so there's a question on fixed assets branch transfer. I think this is the first thing that I'm going to come up is your turnover. Okay, the turnover that you are going to report is all over the place. The turnover that you are going to report is all over the place. Now your job is to first reconcile the data which is there in the books of accounts to what is the data which needs to be reported. Someone was asking about fixed assets and branch transfer. Ideally, your P&L account doesn't show sale of fixed assets. It only shows profit or loss on fixed asset. But for the purpose of GST, the full value has to be taken. Likewise, the branch transfer is not there in my P&L account. So what I will do, I will be starting with my P&L account balance and I will add my branch transfer. I will make the adjustments on account of sale of fixed assets. I'm going to make adjustments on account of sale of fixed assets. So these adjustments I am going to do. So, and derive it, what is my turnover on which I have to pay GST? There could be some additions, some deletions. If you do not have anything listed, you can also add additional list that you have. So your job is to identify what should be the turnover for GST and segregate that turnover between B2B, B2C, all this category of the turnover. Whatever is taxable will be reported in table 4. The transactions on which there is no tax will be reported in table 5. So these are the two tables you will be segregating your turnover in. And from where do I get the turnover values? It will be all over the place. Like, obvious thing is the credit side of the P&L. The obvious thing is the credit side of the P&L. But you should also look for debit side of the P&L where there are reimbursements. There are reimbursements. And you should also look for asset side, which is sale of fixed asset. On the liability side of the balance sheet, you received advances. Off the balance sheet items where you have done a stock transfer or schedule 1 item, right? So you will have to do all these segregation and derive at what should be the turnover for the purpose of GST. So that is where I have shown saying that you will have to say create the what are the differences that are there, like your especially your schedule 1 transactions, which is your branch transfer. You have made the valuation related adjustment. So owing to either could be the rules or anything or forex fluctuation, any of this you will make an adjustments and give a reconciliation. Where is my GST turnover? So it's very important you freeze your GST turnover. Once the turnover is frozen, you also have to call out some exception. Like if you are a proprietor, you have a business income, rental income separate, or might be a salary income, a partnership firm. So you have some receipts which might not be taxable, and some exceptional items like you have received financial credit notes. You have done maybe court out of the court settlement or court settlement, all those adjustments that you will be doing it. Once you have done arrived at the turnover, you will be segregating between how much of it I have reported in R1, how much of which I have paid the tax. So that is the segregation number 1. So you will make a reconciliation, you will make a reporting, that is point 1. Second, how much is payable interstate, which is C plus IGST, and intrastate, which is C+S. You will do this segregation. Same thing, you will segregate how much is in rate wise. You will also segregate between B2B, B2C, all those categories. So you will do all these segregations and you will prepare your own working, and you will also have to reconcile with what I have filed my income tax IT return, what is there in 26 years, all this data you will do. So the way you are doing is from the books data, you are segregating to GST wise and making all this reconciliation reporting, right? So any questions on outward related before I move to input tax credit? There are some questions on ITC. I will be coming when I at the appropriate time. Amit Goyal is asking, my IGST was payable 12,000 2021, which has been paid in September 21. GSTR-3 by reducing. What is the right solution? So 2021 you have paid in September 21. In the last year annual return, you should have shown this under table 10. That means this much amount is not available for the current period. Insurance income is GST applicable. So if you are an insurance agent, the commission which is paid by the insurance company is under reverse charge. So you will not be paying any GST in yourself. You will raise an invoice, but the insurance company will be paying GST on it. Whether we need to report financial credit notes and debit note in the GSTR-9 and 9C, Guru ASSR, yes, you will have to report the financial credit notes, because 5F of GSTR-9 talks about the no GST and non-supply. If you think there is no liability on it, you will be reporting it under that. How to show RCM which is paid from unregistered supply? Srinath, the RCM which is paid on unregistered supply is a liability. You will be reporting under 4G of table 4 of GSTR-9. Correct. So questions relating output I have answered and the liability I have answered. Let's move to ITC. ITC is segregated and reported into 3 tables. The table 6 on ITC, that is availed. Table 7 ITC, that is reversed. Table 8 is reconciliation from 2A. Again, in GSTZen, you have a beautiful reconciliation of what are the items which are there in table 8 and how they are reconciled with 8A. That is available. But when it comes to 9C, you will be reporting in 2 tables. Table 12, how much is ITC available in the books and how much you have availed, and table 14, how this ITC that you have availed segregating into expenditure wise. These are the 2 reportings. So what are the due cares that we need to take care? Let's look at it. Firstly, your ITC, when you are doing, you need to get a view of the total expenditure which is there in the books of accounts, how much of it is eligible and how much of it is ineligible, and how much of the credit if it is not there. So ITC, if the out of 100 purchases, if there is ITC there on 80 purchases, that you are segregating whether eligible or not eligible. This 20 line items where there is no GST in it, you will be checking whether there are nil exempt or are they reverse charge. So the analysis of the total outflow will be done in this manner. Once you do it, you also have to see the ITC which you are marking as eligible, whether it is eligible as per section 17 of the Act, because we know the eligibility comes if it is towards taxable supplies or exports or zero rated supply. It is not eligible if it is towards exempt supply or it is a restricted credit. If you miss out any credit, you should be taking it by 30th November. Earlier, it was up to September return, which is filed in October. Now it has been extended, that is up to 30th November. Now, the important thing which you have to do in GST before you file your GSTR-9 is reconcile the data which is there in the books of accounts, the total purchases vis-a-vis GSTR-2A. Why do you need to do a total purchases vis-a-vis GSTR-2A? You might have some credits which you have availed. That means it is there in the books of accounts, and it is there in the books of accounts, and it is also in portal. So you don't need to take any action. But the credits are appearing only in the books and not in the portal. These are subject to reversal. However, we had a rule 36 sub rule 4 which was permitting to avail 5% over and above. This was up until January this year. Between Jan, Feb, March, it is 100% if it is credit only in 2B, only then you will be taking. Otherwise, you will not be taking. But by the time you come to the full year, which is GSTR-9 you are filing, in your table 8A, it should be appearing, which means the supplier should have at least filed the returns by now. If it is not filed and you have availed the credit, your 8D of GSTR-9 will be showing a negative value. It would indicate that you have availed extra credit. And the last situation is credit is there only in the portal and not in the books. It means it is a missed accounting. Either you account it and avail it next year, or it is an ineligible credit, or it would be lapse saying that you are not a original holder of this credit. So you have to do this reconciliation. And as I said, the additional credit of 5% is available up until January this year. After that, the credit in 3B should be matching with 2B. Now, where are the instances where you have to reverse? If it is a blocked credit, 17 subsection 5, or you have made the payment, you have not made the payment to the vendor within 180 days, or it is a common credit. What is a blocked credit? So if you are incurring the expenditure for the purpose of business, but you are incurring the expenditure towards motor vehicle, food and beverages, staff welfare, or the goods are lost or stolen, if it is used for the personal consumption or it is works contract, these credits are not a eligible credit. 180 days, rule 37 we have discussed, and the reconciliation with the books is very important. You got to see how much of the credit is there in the books and how much you have availed. All right. So with this, we have come to the ITC. Before I go to reverse charge liability, let us see any questions that you have. Okay, question is, should the liability be paid through DRC-03 or less from ITC shown in GSTR-3B? Amit, your question is not clear. Maybe you can frame it. If you have found that there is some tax which is not paid, you cannot report it in GSTR-9. You can report GSTR-9 only if the taxes are paid. Paid could be 3B or through DRC-03. And when I'm saying the DRC-03, you could be paying at the time of filing of R9, before filing R9, after filing R9. As long as it is paid through DRC-03, you can paid or will be paid through DRC-03. You can definitely report it in GSTR-9. I have reported excess taxable value in 3B by mistake, and while tax payable have rightly reported. So let's say your turnover is 1 crore and 18 lakhs is liability, but while reporting in GSTR-3B, erroneously you have reported it as 10 crore, but the tax liability you have discharged only for 18 lakhs. In GSTR-9, since you have paid the tax turnover, you have paid the taxes for only a turnover of 1 crore, you will be reporting only 1 crore in GSTR-9. So I hope this answers your question, Mr. Shukla. While filing GSTR-9, I mistakenly entered ITC claimed as 0 instead of actual figure. More or less, there is no way possibility that you can enter, unless otherwise you have manually made everything as 0. Then the 7J, which is of GSTR-9, will not match with 4C of 3B. So you got to see, if you have made a mistake of it, you can always submit to the department saying that in GSTR-9 we made error. But ideally, I would expect everyone to take assistance of a professional. After you prepare, get one more review done so that you don't get into this unintentional errors and again explaining it to the department. There is no way, once you file your GSTR-9, there's no way you can correct your GSTR-9. Jagdish asking, can you repeat the blocked ITC which was discussed in previous thing? Jagdish, blocked ITC means if you are making a purchase for the purpose of business, which is say motor vehicle, food and beverages, or the employee insurance or works contract related, these are the expenditure incurred for the purpose of business, furtherance of business, but still you are not eligible to take any ITC of this. AMK Rao is asking, I have excess credit taken in GSTR-3B, but I reversed in the current financial year through GSTR-3B, where I have to show in GSTR-9. In table 12 of GSTR-9, let's say credit I am eligible is only 100 rupees. In my 2A, I only have 100, but erroneously I have taken 120 in 3B. This error I have corrected in the next year. So table 6, you will be reporting 120. Table 12, you will be reporting 20. So that way you will say this is the excess credit that I have availed, which is reversed in the subsequent year. To that extent, your 8D will be negative. Whenever you get a notice, you can say that, look, I have reported in table 12 that I have adjusted in the next year. Rahul is asking whether ITC to be reconciled with 2A or 2B. Rahul, both 2A and 2B are same. It's like there is a timing difference. Some month 2A will be higher, some months 2B will be higher, but on a longer horizon, 2A and 2B will match. If you want to reconcile with the books of accounts, you will do 2A. If you want to reconcile with the 3B, you will be using 2B. Rent a cab we paid through RCM, we can avail ITC for the same since it is furtherance of business. Rent a cab services, again, 17 subsection 5. It is a blocked credit. You are not supposed to take any ITC of it. Where do I need to show the input reversal in GSTR-9? If I show the ITC reversal column, there's a huge difference between 2A and 3B. Mr. Goyal, Anil and Co. Please note, GSTR-9 is a statement of fact. If you have reversed your input tax credit in table 4B of 3B, then you will report it in table 7. If you have not reported in 3B, then you will not report it in 9. GSTR-9 is a statement of fact. You are not now doing a new discovery. After you file your GSTR-9, you will not have any changes to your liability ledger, credit ledger, and cash ledger. Keep that in the mind and prepare the values in GSTR-9. Let me move on to ITC on reverse charge. We know reverse charge is applicable on 9.3 and 9.4, where notified purchases or unregistered purchase. 9.4 is applicable if it is a works contract. 9.3 is applicable on the notified things. What are the notified services? What you are seeing on the screen are all the notified services. In fact, when people ask about reverse charge, people only say GTA and legal services. Notification 13 of 2017 is getting updated time to time. What I have highlighted in the blue color are just an indication which is applicable to many of the people. It's not that the blue color has a special thing. Most of you will be having these items which I'm seeing. And during our experience, when I'm attending to the GST notices, I see most of the people have not discharged the reverse charge liability on the sponsorship services, or when they have paid a registration or license fees to the government, or they have paid director sitting fees, they have not paid. So security, this is a new entry which came, when I say new entry, 2018 this has come, in 2019 this has come. From this year, 2022 June, the renting of immobile property has come. So time to time, these entries are coming up. You got to ensure that you have discharged the GST on it. This is on services. Even goods, you have some more entries in the goods. So even goods you have to discharge. How do I reconcile and report this? Firstly, with regards to the liability will be discharged in table 4G of GSTR-9. ITC will be reported in, if your ITC is on account of unregistered, it is in 6C. If it is unregistered, it is in 6D. You got to ensure your liability value should be higher than the credit which you have availed, equal to or higher. Your RCM and pay in the portal which is showing in your 2A, that should be there in your 6D. So make sure you report those credits properly. What are the adjustments that you will do or reporting? Firstly, whatever the taxes that you are paying, through 3B, if you have paid till last year, which is between April to March, that whatever you have paid, you will be reporting in table 4. After April, which is April 22 to the after March, which is April 22 to November 22, if you are paying, you will be reporting in table 10. Whatever you are reporting additionally now, you want to pay taxes through DRC03. You might have already paid or you will pay now. You would have already paid or you will pay now. These taxes you will be reporting in DRC03. So basically, table 4 will be having the values of DRC03 and the taxes that have been paid through 3B till March 22. This is more important that you have to report the values in this. For some of you have already been doing, so it's a revision for the first timers. When you look at the form, you'll get an idea of it. And if it is an exempt supply, the exempted supplies will be coming into table 5. So table 10, if you have paid the taxes in the next year, you will show in table 10. If you have adjusted, that means in the previous year, instead of 100 rupees, I paid 120. The extra 20 I have adjusted in the next year. Then I'll be showing in table 4 120 rupees and in table 11 20 rupees. So totally my table 4 plus table 10 minus table 11, which is equal to 100, which will match with my books of accounts. This is how one has to do the reporting of it. If you find there is a liability short paid, please pay through DRC03. DRC03 can be used for short payment of taxes, excess ITC claim, ineligible ITC claim, or any other liability that you are discovering during GSTR-9 and 9C. So you can be using the DRC03. You have to pay it through cash only. Very exceptional situation, the ITC will be coming, but the portal clearly says, the instruction says DRC03 should be paid only through cash. Just to summarize, my liability will be there in table 4 plus 10 minus table 11. And my total liability is there in column 2 of table 9 and 14. Again, taxes paid is also in the table 9 and table 14. So you make sure the value that you are reporting in table 4 is matching with the table 9, and the value that you are reporting in table 10 and 11 is matching with table 14. This is something you shouldn't do any data entry mistakes, which will end up getting one more notice from the thing. So there are certain reporting changes that have happened. So another 5 minutes I'll take and then hand over to Bharti. Previous year to this year, the changes firstly is earlier the reporting of the credit notes. In table 4, 4A is B2C, 4B is B2B, 4C is exports with payment, 4D is SEZ with payment of taxes, 4E is deemed exports. 4F is advances received, 4G is reverse charge liability, right? So there's a total 4H. Then you have 4IKL, which are debit notes, credit notes, amendment, upward, downward. All these things which were exempt, which you need not report, you can club with the earlier tables. Now the portal says you have to report it separately. With regards to the exempted turnover, earlier people used to merge nil, exempt and non-GST into one column. Nil and exempt can be merged, but non-GST has to be in a separate table. ITC between registered and unregistered, you have to make segregations. Table 17, HSN wise reporting is mandatory now. The 6-digit code for the turnover more than 5 crores, and you have to report it at 4 digits if the turnover is less than 5 crores. These have become mandatory. Certain exemptions which are continuing earlier. The additions, amendments, you will be showing between April to September, whatever you have done the amendments, you will be showing in table 10 and 11. ITC availed can be taken up until this word September. Please read it as November. The change that happened is this September is up until November. In terms of the input tax credit, the credit has to be segregated between CGST, SGST, IGST, and you got to segregate between ITC input services, input goods, and capital goods. So the government said reporting of capital goods is mandatory, but input goods and input services you can merge, it's not mandatory. HSN wise inward continues to be optional. ITC availed reverse next year is also optional. This is on GSTR-9. The optional tables were notified in the last year itself, 30/2021. When it came to 9C, again the 14/22 said the ITC reporting has to be made mandatory. Since this ITC 9C is not certified by a CA, you are doing, so the words best of my knowledge and belief is omitted, which means you have to give it precise and accurate information in your GSTR-9C. The table 5, if you cannot segregate detailed breakup, you can put everything under 5O. Table 14, the expenditure wise split, they said, okay, it is optional, but if you have reported in clause 44 of 3CD, you should be able to use the same. All right. The questions, primary questions that come up is, if I have excess taxes paid, short taxes paid, how do I do it? If I discover a new liability or some ITC, how do I do it? Please note, GSTR-9 is not a form for making payment of taxes, for availing refunds, for availing ITC, for reversing ITC. If you have missed out any liability to be paid, you will be paying through DRC03. You will be paying through DRC03 and you will not be paying through GR9. R9 is not for reporting, but you will be using DRC03. If you have to claim a refund, you will be filing an RFD form, but you don't show a lower liability or higher liability. Availment or reversal of ITC can happen only through 3B, or if it is excess and you want to reverse, that reversal will happen in DRC03. So I just want you to know that GSTR-9 cannot be used in making any of these adjustments. These adjustments have to be done only through the respective forms, right? So having discussed about the various contents of the form, it's very important to actually look at how do we get the values of the form, how do we see the filing and how it happens. Before I hand it over to Bharati, let me just take if there are any questions. Voice is not proper, sir. I would request you to check at your end. PPT and recording you will be getting to the registered email ID. Exempted purchases and RCM not filed in GSTR-3B in financial year 21-22 realized now during the audit where to file in 9C. Prem, I would like to mention that the time limit to make the payment of taxes is always whenever it is fine. Even 10 years later you have to pay, you will be paying. Likewise, RCM you discovered now you will be paying. But since the credit is not availed, it is going to be a lapse credit. The credit should have been availed by November 22. So a liability can always be discharged now through DRC 03. Exempted purchases, there is no requirement of reporting under GSTR-9. How to treat debit note issued for RCM services? We have paid the taxes and utilized. No problem, as long as the taxes have been paid and utilized, absolutely no issue. You don't need to make any adjustment. Whatever the taxes paid due under 9C through DRC 03 to be paid through cash or ITC credit if it is available. Rajesh, you cannot use ITC, you should only pay through cash. Lishika, I have paid commission 80,000 to an unregistered person. Will RCM is applicable? Answer is no, unless otherwise you are a works contractor. Second, services taken from a professional, he did not charge GST. Will RCM applicable? Again, Lishika, those various boxes that I have shown, only there the RCM is applicable. Rent a cab, is RCM applicable? Again, rent a cab, RCM is not applicable. What I have shown in my RCM thing, renting of motor vehicle, let me just take you to that screen. Renting of motor vehicle RCM is applicable and not rent a cab services, right? I am purchases, if I am purchasing from URP, should I need to pay RCM? Answer is no. We have hired transport service from Porter for transportation of our equipment. RCM is applicable. Yes, GTA services, RCM is applicable. We are paying for unregistered dealer purchases while taking credit in 3B, showing in red color. So any change in the value beyond 5%, 10%, the portal will show it red color. Absolutely nothing to worry with that. Previous year ITC 2021 taken in 21-22, in which column in GSTR-9? Previous year ITC taken now, you don't need to show it. The ITC means credit availed in 21-22. In table 6, you will be reporting this credit. Rahul, I think this answers your question. Vatsa, any questions which are there on the YouTube which is not answered?
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Deepesh Jain wants explanation on table 6.
Okay. So maybe you can put those questions. I will take up those questions as and when it comes. So Deepesh, the table 6 is the input tax credit availed. Input tax credit availed. Where did I avail? I availed in 3B. In 3B, which table? Table 4A. 4A1, import of goods. 4A2, import of services. 4A3, my credits on account of reverse charge. 4A4, ISD credits. And 4A5, all other credits. These credits, I will now report it in my GSTR-9 correctly. How do I report correctly? My 6A will be summation of 4A, the credits that you have availed. 6B is the forward charge credits, which is to be matched with the my ITC. 6C is reverse charge credit, which is I have taken in 4A3. 6C plus 6D is my 4A3. 6B is 4A5. Then 6E. 6E is import of goods, which is 4A1. Then 6F is import of services. And 6G is ISD credit. 6H is if a credit I have availed and reversed. Instead of reporting in 6B, I'll be reporting re-availed credits into 6H, right? So the summation of this is your 6O. Then reconciliation difference, 6I, 6J, all those things will come up. But these are the reconciliation between where I have taken credit in 3B and where I have to report it in GSTR-9. Then 21-22 B2B invoices reported in GSTR-1 this financial year, but it's not populated in GSTR-9. Sir, with GSTR-9, you have to manually report those liabilities. Director services means GST on director salary consider. As long as the TDS is done under section 192, you don't need to pay under RCM. Other than that, if you're paying a commission to the director, you're paying them sitting fees, all those things will be coming under RCM. Rajesh is asking, even ITC ineligible while filing R9, found then the same should also be paid in cash or through electronic credit ledger. Rajesh, if that ineligible ITC has been utilized, you have to pay it only through cash. Otherwise, if those ITC is carried forward, you can use it in ITC. Okay, so with this, we can now go on to the demo. I have answered all the questions. In case some questions are there, feel free to ask the questions. Let me hand it over to Bharti. Bharti, can you show how do we file using GSTR-9? Sorry, how
Yes,
do
sir.
we Zen?
Right. So let me start sharing my screen. Okay. So now that Venu sir has explained all legal provisions and theory aspect of it, I'll be going about showing you how to file it through GSTZen. So filing it through GSTZen is a pretty simple and straightforward method. The first thing you need to do is create an account on GSTZen, and once you have created it and logged in, the next step would be to add your GST number. So you can put in your GST number, the name will be automatically populated, and choose the taxpayer type. So once you have added the GST number, it will appear in your dashboard. So all the GST numbers that you add will be here in your dashboard. It will also show you the status of your recent returns, that is your GSTR-1, 3B, and 9. So if whether you have filed or not filed. So green indicates that it has been filed. Red indicates a due date has passed and not been filed, and blue indicates that the due date has not yet come. So to perform a function for any GST number, we select that GST number from here. So the functions available for that GST number are present within the quick actions menu. So you can download various reports. You can download your GSTR-1, you can download e-invoices, your 2A, 2B, or your GSTR-3B. Plus, you can also download a consolidated report that will give you a comparison between GSTR-1, you can have 2A or 2B, and 3B. So this is very essential in filing GSTR-9. You can also reconcile your books with the government portal data, like your purchase register with 2B, your sales register with GSTR-1, and other available reconciliation. The last one is filing of returns. Besides GSTR-9 and 9C, GSTZen provides filing of GSTR-1 and 3B. So now we'll be filing GSTR-9. So we select that and select the financial period. So once we are here, so what are the things that are required to for filing GSTR-9? So you would need to see your GSTR-1, GSTR-3B, and GSTR-2B data to make an informed decision about your GSTR-9, as well as your auto-populated data that has been done by the GST portal directly. So what you do is you click here to download your data from the portal. So log in with OTP, select the information you want to download. So in here, I'm selecting all the information to download at one go. So it will take some time to download all the data. So we have already downloaded GSTR-9, that is auto-populated summary, as well as GSTR-9 table 8A. So you also need to download the current financial year's data, the year for which you're filing, as well as the next financial year, because you have the timeline usually up till September to report your data which you failed to report in 21-22. So if you have missed out on reporting some invoices of 21-22, you could have reported it till November 30th of 22-23. So once you have downloaded all this data, you get this report. So this consolidated report is giving you the data of GSTR-1, 3B and 2B. So this report, you can see your monthly figures of GSTR-1 segregated for each month. Similarly, you can see your GSTR-3B figures. So you can have your GSTR-2A versus 3B. Similarly, another report will show you GSTR-2B and 3B comparison. Then you have comparison of books and GSTR-3B. You can also upload your sales and purchase data of books into GSTZen and get that comparison. So if you look at GSTR-1 and 3B, so that comparison also you have. So sometimes you report something in GSTR-1, but you do not pay the taxes for that month. So if there's any discrepancy, that is also shown here. You might pay it later on. So you can compare your the turnover reported and the taxes paid. So you can compare both of those for the purpose of reporting in GSTR-9. So this is segregated for various tables. Similarly, you can go here and go to the sales overview. It will also show you the turnover segregated between various rates as you have to report in GSTR-9. Plus now, as Venu sir had mentioned, you also have to report debit notes and credit notes separately. That figure is also given here. So you can have your comparison of books with GSTR-1. So you have your comparison of books with GSTR-3B, and you also have your comparison of GSTR-1 and 3B. Similarly, you have your purchase overview. You have books versus GSTR-2A. You have books versus GSTR-3B, and then you have comparison of GSTR-2A and 3B. You can also see this invoice level details for customers and B2C. Similarly, you can have your vendor details, GSTR-2A by vendor, and HSN summary. So you also have to report your HSN in GSTR-9. So you can have a summary of that HSN from here and upload it for GSTR-9. So if you have TDS, it will give you a summary of TDS as well. Okay, so another important aspect of filing GSTR-9 is your ITC. So what entries do you have in your GSTR-9 table 8A? So the government will show you the total figure, and this report is actually comparing your GSTR-9 table 8A figures with your GSTR-2B. There might be some differences between the two. So the invoices that are matching, that are present in both 2A and GSTR-9, then there are some invoices only present in GSTR-2A. So if you have reported any invoices for ITC, if any invoices have been reported after 30th of November, they cannot be claimed for ITC in GSTR-9. So they would only be present in GSTR-2A. So there might be some entries which are only present in GSTR-9 as well. So this gives you a summary as well as invoice level reconciliation for that amount. Okay, so this is the overview. So ITC as per 2A. This is ITC as per 2A, but not in GSTR-9 table 8A. This is ineligible ITC as per GSTR-9 table 8A and eligible as per GSTR-9 8A. Okay, so mass status, you have both. There might be only present in 2A or only present in GSTR-9. So you can have this comparison, because sometimes people say I have this much ITC in my GSTR 2A or 2V, but that amount is not matching in what is auto populated in my GSTR 9 by the GST portal. So by this report, you can find out where the discrepancy is coming from. Okay. So now the next step is to download your auto calculated data from the government portal. This also helps in filing GSTR-9. Okay, so once this is downloaded, you can view and fill your data. So you have various options here. So you can take the data that is calculated by the government portal. Okay, so you can directly take this data. Then you have data calculated by GSTZen based on your filed returns and the data input, the books input you have provided to the software. There will be sections where you can edit it. Okay, the last one is the values entered by you. So based on these, you can input your figures and edit it. Some of the figures would be editable, rest would be read only. So once you have input all the figures here, you save your form and go back. Okay, so you can also provide your HSN summary here. So the summary can only be uploaded through Excel. It cannot be filled manually. After inputting all the data, you should also validate your GSTR-9 for consistency. This is very helpful. So you can compare your data. So let's see, is some aspects we have failed and some we have passed. So the only aspect we have failed here is liability declared in GSTR-9 table 4 does not match my tax payable declared in GSTR-9 table 9. So I can go back to the data and check or maybe make changes. So this does not this. Yes.
Yeah, so in this case, users, that is where I say, always say, use a software. So it is trying to validate. Now, in my table 4, it is saying that 22,67,000 is shown as liability, while my table 9, it is 22,45,000. So it should be matching. So wherever it is not matching, go back and correct it. And unless otherwise you have reason why it should have a difference where you have a reconciliation. So when you use a software, at least software will tell you anomalies which are there in R9. In fact, earlier someone was saying that I filed an erroneous R9, what can be done now? Nothing can be done. So with the software, it will give you some tests and say whether it is validated or not, you will get an idea. Please continue.
Okay, so once you have done this validation, so even if it's not validating properly, this does not mean that you cannot go ahead and file. In spite of these, since you have taken a look and if you're satisfied with it not validating all the data, you're saying that this is correct, this is how I want to file it, you can go ahead and file. This is just for your purpose to check the accuracy of your data. Okay. So once you have checked your data for accuracy, the next step is to upload. Since this is live data, I am not uploading it at the moment. You can also get the PDF and check various details once you upload. You also have the option of getting the summary. So what you have uploaded in the portal, you get the summary for it before submitting the return. You can make sure that whatever you have uploaded is correct and kind of like a final step before filing. Because once, as Venu sir mentioned, as once you have submitted, you cannot do anything. Once you have filed the return, nothing can be done. So this is the last step to check. If you find any discrepancy, you can go back and change your data. Now, moving on to GSTR-9C. Okay. Here also, you can download your filed GSTR-9. Since we have not filed it, it might not give any data. And then what you have to do is you have to fill part A. So rest of the details can be input by your GSTR-9 uh, by GSTR-9 filed data. So you can upload your JSON for part A or manually fill it. You can use the data filed in GSTR-9 to auto-populate these sections, or you can select and input the values yourself. So Venu sir had mentioned GSTR-9 is essentially what is, and GSTR-9 is what it should be. So either it will match your GSTR-9 data or it would not. So if it does not match, so you have to enter the values yourself. So what should be, you are mentioning it here. Ideally, it should match what is. It should match exactly your GSTR-9. If it is not matching, you can enter the values yourself and then save the form. It will also, you also have to provide other details such as balance sheet, profit and loss statements, and you can provide other supporting documents. Once you have provided all the information here, you upload the documents to the portal directly. Then upload your return. Again, you can check the summary before proceeding to file. And once you have clicked here, you can file using OTP or DSC. So this brings me to the end of this uh, filing through GSTZen. Are there any questions regarding the process or any aspect of it?
Yeah, always feel free to ask the questions you have. And just in case if you have to reach us, here are our coordinates. You can always connect to us, support@gstzen.in, and the number to chat, call 7406441122. Get in touch for knowing more about how to use GSTZen software, GSTR-1, 3B, GSTR-9. And if you have any technical questions on how to fill the form or how to understand GSTR-9, you can always reach to me at venu@vnv.ca. Yeah. I hope this webinar is definitely valuable to you. And in case if some questions which are unresolved, feel free to get in touch with me. Any questions, you can put your questions in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask. I'm here for some more time to answer the questions. Participants, any questions? Satish ji, you will get the copy of the presentation and the video recording to your registered email ID. You will be getting in the email, registered email ID, Ramaswamy sir. HSN reporting same as reporting in R1. Yes, the table 12 of R1 is the table 17 of R9. AM Kirao, you will get the video recording to all the people who have registered. Yes, you will get the link. Muhammad Abdul Jabbar, I don't know what is KSA. We are at GSP. Can we correct HSN in GSTR-9, Arpita? Of course, yes. GSTR-9 is the last option to show a right values. Assuming I did import of goods, but I reported under 4A5, in GSTR-9, you will show a right values. Let's say table 12, I have not filed in R1. I'll now show table 17 correct HSN. Rajesh is asking, in case of a builders where revenue is point of taxation based, to be reported on receipt basis, since most of the cases percentage not completed. Balance sheet is a different rule. Perfect, Rajesh. You will be using table 5 of GSTR-9C. You will compute difference between the books turnover and the turnover as per GST, because in GST you will go with table 13, sorry, section 13, read with section 31. You will continue supply of services based on the demand range. You will be recognizing liability in GST. Based on the percentage of completion, you will be recognizing the revenue in the books of accounts. So you will do those reconciliation adjustments. Manoj is asking, can you please confirm where we show GST in sale of e-commerce 5% for auto cab services? Manoj Prabhakar, in table 5 you have 5C where your outward supplies under RCM, you will be reporting under that table. AM Kera, we are repairing the electrical transformer. What is the SCN code? Again, we can get in touch offline. Chapter 99 deals with a very detailed thing. Then there is a question, credit notes in GSTR-1 not exporting to GSTZen. How can we reconcile books from the GST portal? Now, credit notes would also get exported. Sir, Prem, maybe I think we can connect offline. There are two ways. If you are using connector and connector is for some reason not taking, you can export the data to Excel and upload. Both would work. Ajit, if you do not file annual returns, what is the consequence? Late fee, and every day you'll be paying the late fee, 100 rupees, 100 rupees, plus or not plus, up to what date? 0.25%. So 0.5% of your turnover, 0.25 CGST, 0.25 SGST you'll be paying as a penalty. I have not maintained books of values in GSTZen. Comparisons can be filed manually. Perfectly. You can still, even if you don't have the books of accounts, you can compute and enter the values in GSTZen directly. That would work. AM Kerao tried offline, unable to get the SCN code exactly. Please send an email to us, to the support ID. We will revert to you, sir. Mohammed Abdul, what about debit note? How can we do debit note from the sales module? Yes, Tally as a books of accounts do not understand debit note from the sales module. Maybe you have to create a new sales voucher type. Voucher type is sales, but the voucher name you can make it as sales debit note and the part of the sales. Thank you, Ajit. Thank you, Manoj. Sunil is asking, we have the invoice to claim ITC, but party did not show in 2B within 30th November. Later on filed, can we claim ITC on the same? As of now, the answer is theoretically no, but you can claim and you can fight the case. GSTR-9C part 4 table 12, please understand Advocate D. So pretty simple. What is the ITC which is there in the books of accounts current year? How much of it you have claimed in the next year? That means it will ideally expectation is to compare with books and this. How much of the previous year ITC which you did not claim previous year which you have claimed? So current year purchase value minus previous year claim less claimed in the subsequent year. Is that the value which is there in the 3B is what you will be reporting in table 12. What about advance payment invoice and advances received? Abdulji, you will be reporting under 4F. Maximum late fee 0.25% of the turnover in the state for each tax. Yes, yes, it is each 0.25 CGST, 0.25 SGST. Satish is asking, how can we get the software and what is the cost? You can just reach to the support, and the price is available out there online. There are various category of the flavors: bronze, silver, pro plus. You will be able to choose what suits you. I have wrongly considered and paid under RCM for cab services. That's fine. You have paid the RCM. Yeah, you have paid. So that's a fact. I don't know what's the question about it. Can we avail ITC? Sir, per 17.5, you will still pay an RCM, but you will not avail ITC. That's perfect. I think we have answered all the questions. I thank all the viewers for taking your time out and attending the session. I hope you will be filing your GSTR-9 in most accurate way so that you will not invite some more notices from the department. Feel free to reach us if you have any more questions. Yeah. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you, sir.